I read 6 books for the month of February. I'm trying to read 6 to 7 books a month. I got this book from the library, The Altered History of Willow Sparks. Let's see who it's by. Tara O'Connor. And this was okay. It's not in color. The comic's okay. The story's okay. I gave it like 3.5 stars. It's not my favorite, but it's, you know, it's not the worst. Like, it's just okay. There was nothing really stand out about it for me. Now this one I read and I think it's amazing. I want to read everything that Chanel Gibbs and Shawnee Gibbs has created and written. So here are their pictures. The sisters created the story, and then I think Emily did the cartoons and she did the coloring. So this book is phenomenal. I love the illustrations. I love the story. I'm just so in love with this book. Okay, and so this is the problem with the library. Like, I am probably going to try to find myself a copy on Pango of this. I'm just so in love, and I do reread my graphic novels because why not? They're quick and easy to read. But yeah, I love the colors and I love the story. So it's about this girl who her parents divorced and she's at a new school and she has new friends and they don't know her history. Her father is a ghost hunter and they live in New Orleans. So you would think that that would be acceptable, but even in New Orleans, her father is, you know, like considered an outcast or weird or whatever. And so it's about Chelsea, this girl right here. And she has her new friends in the school and they're popular and she's just so excited because she used to get picked on for her dad being a ghost hunter. And so he comes out with this new ad, "Your ghost is toast, ghost roast," which I think is really cool. And it kind of goes viral and everyone at the new school like kind of picks on her. But like this is the YouTube, he does a YouTube video. But they all think it's cool. And so it's the story of like her new friends and trying to fit in and her dad trying to get his company off the ground. I love it. Like I loved this ghost story. I loved just everything. It's just, I definitely have to get my hands on it. 2 other library books, I had read them through Libby, was The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro and Margot's Got Money Trouble by Ruthie Thorpe. I read these through Libby and I loved both stories. At first, I almost DNF'd Margot's Got Money Troubles because I could not relate to a 19-year-old. And, you know, being a middle-aged, child-free woman and just, I'm very triggered by the fact that abortion is never really on the table and never really considered in a lot of books. And I don't understand why not, you know. Let's get rid of the stigma. It is a choice. It is an option, especially if you live in a blue state, especially if you don't live in the United States. It's an option. And I'm like, I can't read a book about a 19-year-old who does not have a fully developed frontal lobe, who doesn't know what she's getting herself into, who has no idea, who doesn't have any money and no support system really to raise a child. But as the story went on and it was more about like her relationship with her parents and trying to make money and realize that, oh shit, like the world isn't set up for moms. The world really does punish young moms especially, but you know, if you don't work a 9 to 5, it really punishes you. And she was working as a waitress and, you know, how can she afford having a nanny or, you know, there's no places to take a newborn when you're working nights and her mother wouldn't help her. So she does later bring up abortion and that, you know, raising a baby is really challenging. There's no social net for moms, single moms especially, and society really punishes young moms, especially unmarried moms. It's a good social commentary. I loved it. So I love the quality of books you get from Pango. Like, this looks like the spine isn't even broken. Like, it looks brand new. It's how I keep my books. So I want to reread this and like highlight my favorite quotes, and I may do like an in-depth book review on this. I absolutely love this book. And the same with The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro. And same thing, like this one, definitely the spine is not broken at all. Like, I don't know if this person even read this book. I mean, I know I have a couple books that I'm selling on Pango under Cozy Reads with Sarah where I haven't even cracked the spine because I didn't read the books. I absolutely love the writing. This story is just so hauntingly beautiful, and it's about generational trauma and curses. And, you know, this woman, Alejandra, is a mom who is a wife, and she's married, and she has her children, 3 children, who she loves, and she always talks about it, but she just has depression and anxiety. And it talks about how moms feel like they have nothing and are nothing in society, within society's constructs, and the issues of being a stay-at-home mom and not having your own money. So even if you have a house or you appear to have everything, Alejandra doesn't feel like it's hers. It feels like it's all her husband's. And I love that she starts to go to therapy. The therapist combines like Western therapy with the Mexican like tradition of like healing. I forgot what that's called, but I want to reread this again and like highlight, like, there's so many great quotes, and looking at the misogyny that's built into our culture and how it's just really against women. But she also, V. Castro also talks about the generational curses that fall on men as well. So I love this book. Now, books that I own that I read was The Sprite and the Gardener. And this book is so cute. This story's okay, but I love the drawings and I love the color of this, and it's just such a beautiful book. I mean, it's definitely like a children's book, but it's so gorgeous. So I loved this book. I'm not even gonna try to say the names, but there you can see that. Now, another book that I own, and now I totally understand why in college as a women's studies major we did not read Germaine Greer, The Female Eunuch. I've only gotten 100 pages in, like 102 pages in, and I absolutely hate her thesis. If I knew that this was based on Freud, I would not have ever bought the book. I cannot stand Freud. I was a women's studies major, psych minor, and in psychology, you know, I'm so thankful that my professors were like, Freud's theories have been debunked. He wanted to make sure he got paid. So he was a victim blamer, basically, to put it bluntly. He blamed the children for adults projecting their sexual lust onto children. And Germaine Greer, I don't know her history, but she talks like she was a teacher, and she puts that projection of her sexuality onto young kids. And honestly, it makes me sick. Like, it made me sick. Like, I wanted to throw this book across the room. There's lots of writing. Okay, it's right here. So on page 93, however liberal a teacher may be, she early discovers that the rigid embargo imposed upon physical contact between teacher and pupil must be observed, because the last flame of sexual energy is only destructive and can only be corrupted. Given the wider context and the socializing function of the school, it is an aching nerve in the education situation and will remain so, must remain so, unless our whole sexual orientation is radically changed. To defy it piecemeal can only produce ever greater suffering. The girl who directs her passion towards her peer is in a better situation than a girl who loves her teacher. It is usual to explain such deep and lasting attachments as seduction of one girl by another who is especially aggressive and sexually mature, or as transferred longing for the mother whose closeness is being withdrawn, as sexual maturity and I can't say that word, rivalry become pressing prognosis, or simply as the desire to confide sexual curiosity and share forbidden knowledge. Gross. And I'll let you guys read what I wrote. Why is she sexualizing children? Like, that's disgusting. A hug is just a hug, and like, people need physical touch. Like, that's human nature. And I wrote, like, Greer is such a self-loathing sexist. Like, it's so ingrained in her. Like, she really hates women. So not only is she using Freud, whose theories have been debunked, children do not seduce adults, especially family members. Adults project their sexual perversion onto children. It's not the other way around. Freud just switched it because the adults were paying him, you know, money talks and bullshit walks, right? So she says that in primary school, education makes no distinction between boys and girls. I don't know what school she taught at or she's referencing, but sexual gendered clothing and toys, children know the difference between boys and girls by like age 3, and everything's gendered. Everything, even before children are born. I mean, why do we have these gender reveal parties? It's so disgusting. Anyway, I hate this book. I don't agree with anything. Oh, right here. It says, it is an odd reflection that while we hear voices raised in protest against the destruction of innocent occasion by showing sex films in junior school, no voice is heard exclaiming at the awfulness of being flirted with by a 3-year-old. No 3-year-old is flirting with you, ma'am. No one. No 3-year-old is flirting with you, like, you sicko. No. No, no, no. Like, I want to throw this fucking book. So my husband says, like, just stop reading it. I'm 100 pages in out of like 300 and some odd pages. I don't know, I guess at the time it was a good book, but this woman, like I said, she hates her own gender. She is deeply sexist. I guess I've heard that she's also transphobic and other things. So yeah, I see why this book was not taught. This book is a load of shit. I read other amazing feminist works this month. So I'm gonna actually jump back to January because I didn't do this in January. I didn't talk about the books I read in January. Let me see. I'll try to wrap this up quickly because I know that this video is running long. In January, I read Heal the Witch Wound by Celeste Lannon. That was 4 stars. It was a library book. The Body is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor. That was a 5-star. I had bought that on Audibles a while ago. I love that book. Body is Not an Apology is amazing. I also listened to on Audibles I Know What I'm Doing and Other Lies I Tell Myself by Jen Kirkman. I also had that on Audibles. This was a library book that I DNF'd. Men Who Hate Women by Laura Bates. I only got 11% in. I am a woman and I've been alive for 4 decades and I've been online and I know all about the death threats and the emotional labor that we had to put in and men's entitlement. I didn't need to read a 300-page book about it, like all the death threats and all the horrible things she's received as a feminist and as a woman. I listened to on Libby, The Ruins by Scott Smith. That was 1 star. Horrible book. Like, I knew the ending at the beginning. Also from the library, Fat Witch Summer by Lizzie Ives, 4 stars. Thrash, the protagonist, was so cool. But I did get tired of every person having tricks. Like, every title, every professional had tricks at the end. It got really old. And then I gave 3 stars to A Study in Drowning. That was a Libby audiobook as well. It was slow and a little weird. But why I wanted to talk about that was because Men Who Hate Women, I kind of had a feeling I wasn't going to like it, but I read Fed Up. Let me see who wrote that book. Sorry. Because that was on my Libby Kindle. Fed Up, Emotional Labor, Women and the Way Forward by Gemma Hartley. And I gave that 4.5 stars. It was amazing. And it talks about why men are so entitled and all the invisible work that women do to appease men. And men are not emotionally intelligent enough to handle their own emotions, let alone like everybody else's. And how as mothers and girlfriends and wives and just people in society, we need to stop coddling men and giving them space to learn emotional intelligence and learn how to do the invisible work. Like, if the toilet paper's gone, replace it. If the mirror's dirty in the bathroom, wash it. If there's sinks, dishes in the sink, wash them. If there are dishes in the dishwasher, put them away. Do what you can, like help out. Like, if your child, the father's child, is crying, it's your child too. Like, you can go sue that child. Like, you don't have to leave everything up to your wife or your girlfriend or your mother or any woman in your life, So that book was excellent. Let's see. And I also read on Libby Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. And that book takes place in Vermont, and it's during autumn. And I love the vibe of that book as well. So eventually, hopefully, maybe I can get Small Spaces from Pango as well, because that book has all the vibes. So yeah, I am doing well with sticking with reading a lot of feminist books, whether I agree with them or not, like Germaine Greer. Yeah, I hate this book. But these books, The Haunting of Alejandra and Margot's Got Money Troubles, deal with misogyny and sexism in such a truthful and honest way, and I loved it. And if anyone is feeling like overwhelmed with their emotional labor that they do, at work, or, I'm not a mother, but just being a woman, just being in a woman's body, we do a lot of emotional labor. We have to gauge. I remember posting on Threads before I got off social media for 2025 that I was no longer smiling at men in public, and the level of hatred and threats I received was unreal to me. Just absolutely crazy, like mind boggling. Like, wow, men are that upset about women not smiling at them. I mean, how many of us get told to smile? Like, I hate being told to smile. I have always tried, for as long as I remember, to not make eye contact with men, I ignore men and men ignore me. It's interesting, in my 20s and through like early 30s, I always wanted to be considered. I was curious. I'm like, what would it be like to be a classically beautiful woman? But now that I'm in my 40s, I am happy. I understand and I see and I hear what classically beautiful women go through. And even as not being classically beautiful, having a lot of issues with my body image and dealing with those growing up, I still dealt with a lot of sexual harassment from men starting at the age of 9. It was the worst from 9 to, 20. And I think as it is for most women, but I think that for beautiful women, they deal with it at such a higher rate, like so much more. And I don't think I could handle that. So now that I'm older and wiser, I am happy that I was a never classically beautiful, because I can't imagine the level of sexual harassment and just ick that women who are classically beautiful have to deal with. You know, I've always had, you know, the depression script in the background of my life. And so unless I'm being conscious of it, I never smiled. And even in some social situations where I was supposed to be smiling, I didn't smile. Like, I'm not a smiley person. Like, it's funny because I remember at CCD one Sunday, like, well, CCD was Wednesday night, but this girl who I always thought smiled all the time, like, she was always smiling to, and I always saw her as smiling. She was like, Sarah, you're always smiling, you're always so happy. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting, because that's not how I viewed myself. I didn't like to smile for family photos. I didn't just walk around with a smile plastered on my face. Like, that didn't happen until, you know, I was conditioned into me as when I started working retail at, you know, 19, that then the customer service voice and the smile, you know, and even on the phone, like, smile, you know, when you're saying hello, smile, like, people can hear your smile in your voice. So smile when you're on the phone talking. You know, I worked customer service on the phone, and I worked customer service in retail, and I worked customer service in the food industry, and in a coffee shop, and customer service public facing through the government, and, you know, just always offering, you know, that emotional support to people, but also trying not to offer too much, because I didn't want to be too available, especially to men. Like, I don't mind offering help or anything to women, but to men, yeah, no, I'm not here for that. I've been writing again. I interviewed on my Sarah's Prismatic Musings page Helen Walter. She is a local poet, and she runs 3 poet groups here in Roswell. I may start going to one of her poets and writers group, but we'll see. I broke my book buying ban in February, but like I said, I bought used books from Pango or thrift books, and I only read 2 books from my library. I mean, yeah, I listened to some that I had on Audible, so I guess that counts, right? They weren't all Libby, like, library books or library books from the library, but it's such a, like, now I'm like, I read a book from the library and I love it, and I want to own it because I want to reread it, and I want to, like, highlight all the, like, amazing passages. And I'm like, oh, I could do this for my Cozy Reads with Sarah channel. But that channel, I think I'm gonna, like, I've seen other tarot tubers combine their tarot and their books, so I may just start doing that, because running multiple channels is a lot of work. And you know, at least Tarot and Oracle for the Soul is still, like, gradually, I'm still gaining new subscribers, where Sarah's Prismatic Musings, because that channel is, like, all over the place, I've lost a lot of subscribers recently, probably because I do talk politics on that channel, and I know people don't like to talk politics, and that's, like, a dangerous game, you know, when you're trying to build your channel. But my nephew is very knowledgeable and intelligent and well-spoken, and he wanted to talk about his political ideals, which are not Democrat or Republican, so I wanted to give him a platform. So I wanted to interview him. There's 3 videos up with him talking. Look for him in the future, like, he's a future politician. I know I'm biased, but he's just has a really good head on his shoulders. He's very grounded and very empathetic. He definitely has that emotional intelligence. Talking to him gives me hope for the future. So it's okay if I lost some subscribers over that. That's fine. Like, you know, I understand. But, you know, unfortunately right now we see that the personal is the political, and that bodily autonomy, it should be everybody's right. Like, it shouldn't even be a question. my body, my choice for everything. Like, that's where I stand. Like, men, women, children. I have so much more to say, but I won't get into those rants here on this channel. But if you want to hear some of that stuff, you can go to Sarah's Prismatic Musings. Thank you for listening to my month of February. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Now he's actually playing with it.
He's like, I'm gonna tackle it. He's not playing with it.
I know.
He's like, I'm gonna tear this thing up and get my.
He's like, I want my snacks.
Like, right now, I don't wanna work for it. It's crazy type.
Well, I'm glad he likes this toy.
Me too.
Yay. I did good. Pumpkin, did I do good?
I'm busy now, lady.